It's time once again for Haunters Podcast special edition version. Here's your host, Zach Hilton.
Oh my God. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm about to say just cancel the show, play that wicked song that's before this video for like in loop for an hour, and I'm into this. How you doing, Jim? Welcome to Haunter Podcast. And the only way that we can make it an S is because Jimmy has graciously enough come aboard and be a special guest host for today's episode.
Nah, not even, man. It's always a fun time.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna have some good conversation. And if you didn't think Zachary wasn't going to have the rock tequila on hand, oh, you were quite wrong. Because let me tell you, I got a new version of the tequila, a whiskey barrel tequila.
No. Wow. I like that. I like everything in that sentence.
It's smooth, baby. But yeah, so we're a Haunters Podcast. We talk haunts, VA haunts, haunts in Orlando, HHN, all that, baby. So let's get into this. Wildly, I think it's on you, Jimmy, that HHN decided they wanted to do some announcements this week. And I think it's just because they wanted content for your show.
Can we just talk about for a second?
Please.
And I'm curious on your opinion on this, on if you think they do it on purpose and they just like do like oh, silly me, we done it again. Or if it really is like, damn, like they continue. Like everyone shits on Disney's ticket sales thing, right? Every year, the HHN Hollywood has like this massive fuck up where they're like, "Oh, we leaked it out," but did they really leak it out?
So, okay, that's a great question. So last week, apparently HHN stuff got like leaked. The house that was announced, which is Universal Monsters Legends, whatever, Collide, and like there were some graphics also where there was like the Dracula they've been using, the Mummy and Wolfman on it. And it was like too perfect to be like, no, this is someone made that up. And I feel it is Hollywood's fault. I feel you guys over there, you guys go like regular movies. Like, you know how people can get aerial views of your houses, looking at the construction and stuff like that. I think you guys actually have like producers from movies being like, oh, we leak a little thing here or there, get the murmuring up so people can be excited about the event. I definitely blame y'all. Where like Orlando, they're Fort Knox. They're trying not to let things get out.
Yeah,
It's your fault, Jimmy.
I think too that I feel like it's a lot more harder to see backstage in Orlando than it is in Hollywood. Like they're guarded a lot better in Orlando as far as like I get like they have like people on Twitter like the dude who has the drone who always like, but like I mean 90% of us don't have that just available to us, right? So to see like the Men in Black tent where Scary was, or to see like right now everyone's losing it over the Fast and the Furious thing.
Right, like you can see the outer of the tent.
Right, like that's like everyone loses their shit because it's really hard in Orlando to get like that, whereas Hollywood's super easy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't know if it's like Universal has like a no flyover zone where I imagine in Hollywood has to be more difficult to pull off because you guys have to film stuff up there.
Right.
Because you guys are literally the filming capital of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right because that Fast and the Furious line, you'll see pictures and like people will freak out because they see a steel pole. We'll be like, oh, confirmed house, steel pole. What do you think it is? Obviously, Shaq's steel. But they did announce the house. It finally came out. I noticed this. I put this on our Instagram, Hunters Pod, if you want to follow. That video was up 5 days before, because when I clicked on it, it was an unlisted YouTube video and had been up for 5 days. So they've been sitting on it for a little bit.
Yeah, that is very true. We got this guy saying they got the thing on as they develop a video game. Right on, man. Thank you, Molted, for the support.
Sweet.
The thing too is that Hollywood is in an interesting phase right now, because they have they being like Murdy and the creators, they've always said that, like, why do spend a lot of time on originals when we can develop all this IP because it's Hollywood and yada yada, which is fine. But I've always said, like, the best part about any of it is the originals. That's why I love going to Orlando.
Right.
And now Hollywood is starting to kind of pivot a little, if the rumors are true, and they're even doing more originals,
right?
Bringing back La Llorona, but more originals are rumored. I think that's kind of interesting too.
So that's what a loaded thing right there is. Like, that's a loaded potato, because here's how I feel about it. I have haunts all by me that do original work, and I'll get into that in a little bit when I talk Virginia haunts. But Universal has a budget like nobody's business for their houses. And when you get those original houses, they are amazing looking. Like, I'm thinking about what was it, Untold Legends, or the one about the private eye last year?
Oh God, Case Files. Yeah.
Case Files. Like, Case Files was gorgeous. Like, so much went into that house. And I agree with you that when you get the budget for those types of houses, awesome as all get out. I'm not going to sit here and not act like I'm not a fanboy when we get into IPs, because Universal's statement from the beginning was ride the movies.
Yeah.
To me, HHN is live a horror movie. And I get with the originals, that's exciting. I do love that. Nothing's going to take away the fact that I felt like I was in a Michael Myers movie.
It's funny to me to hear you get so excited about that, because it's almost, everyone says that, like, when all the parks closed, like, everyone like came out on the Bird app, as you guys like to say.
What's that? I don't know what that is. I just don't even know what that is.
But they like kept saying, like, oh, like, it shows how much you like took it for granted. And when we didn't have HHN at all, that definitely it hit pretty hard.
Right.
But it's funny, because for the longest time, like, we complained so much about how much IP we have in the Hollywood one.
Right.
And going to the Universal Orlando, and like now kind of like reaching out and kind of, becoming, forcing my way into your guys' circle.
Force your way in, baby. Come here.
But hearing like you guys like genuinely are excited when like a movie is rumored to come to Orlando. And I'm like, yeah, Hollywood's done it like 5 times, but here it is for the first time in Orlando. Like, to see the excitement is kind of cool. It's like doing it all over again.
Right. And I'll give this too, because they are 2 different creatives. It is kind of a different house. Like, I know you guys had Hill House and we have Hill House. You guys get Stranger Things. We get Stranger Things. But the houses do focus differently on whoever's creating it.
Definitely. It's different, which is interesting, because Murdy, well, I'll wait until you get to what was announced, but there's an interesting thing there.
I would love to get into it. So yeah, you brought up right there. The first house announced is Universal Monsters, Legends Collide. And what a video announcement. I absolutely love when Universal puts in money and they make a cool, awesome opening video. What were your takeaways from that vid?
It looked very Usher's, what was that? HHN
19?
19, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. 18 or 19. Pretty sure it
ripped
was
from
19.
yeah, I think it's 19. That it's my first one. So yeah, 19 ripped from the silver screen.
Because my first year was 20, and I remember he was definitely there
Right.
in that scare zone. So it had to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember being excited to be able to take a picture with him because I love the character of the Usher.
Oh, he's my favorite icon. Like it's Jack icon, everybody else for me. Or Jack Usher, everybody else.
See, like my two, I love Jack just because of the personal relationship of getting to interview James.
Oh.
As James, I've gotten to interview James as James, and I've interviewed him as James as Jack.
Right. You've gotten both versions.
Right. And like just like talking to him and BSing, and like Jack is like the sentimental favorite because of James.
Right.
But development, like character, pure Mickey Mouse bullshit.
Right.
It's director and Usher. I love those two. So
oh yeah.
If this is like what it's funny, you in wrestling, like the Smarks or whatever, like what the Smarks are saying that the Usher is going to be featured. If that's true, dude, that's fucking badass.
Okay. And if that's the thing, I think that's a wish, hope, dream. Everybody like they take something. Okay. Well, fuck that. Let's talk it. I don't like that we automatically go somewhere else. Why can't something just be what the fuck it is? Like it's a video of a guy coming out, the snacker, which I feel like that's going to be the theme. We're going to get different.
The first thing that popped into my mind, I don't know about you guys. The first thing that popped into my mind was the horror.
Oh, the horror. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it plays one of the death cards kind of deal. Yeah, that's a very slick call right there. That's fun. I wonder if who knows? Never mind. For me, the takeaway of the vid, like I absolutely thought it was polished. I thought this thing looked good. It made me look forward to if we are going to get other things. And I've been on the Universal Monsters train this entire run, starting with the mashup Avengers House, and then we got Bride. Now we'll get this. Like, I like the era of we're reintroducing everybody and bringing it to the masses.
For sure.
It's a more successful Dark Universe, if you will.
Jason and I always have a soft spot. I think Bloody Mary was 19, so I think Usher was 18.
Are you sure?
I'm not.
No.
I know that they were like they were back to back. I don't know who was first, but I know.
I will. You know what? I will bet you right now. Termana 19 was Usher, because like I said, it's my first one. The first house that I went through that I freaked out about was his Rip from the Silver Screen, which had like Army of Darkness in it, Phantom of the Opera, Shaun of the Dead. Like I freaked out because I did not know that's what I was going to get, because 17 is where I was introduced to HHN, because I didn't know Universal did this, and my friend had a shot glass of Freddy and Jason and Leatherface. And I was like, oh, wow, wait a second. Movies are haunted houses, but like you're allowed to do it? It's not just some kid running around with a mask?
Yeah.
Like it blew my mind. But the video, very crisp, clean. My one from you right now, as a first announcement, as the first house announcement after months of nothing, does it come off that I kind of feel like everything's been quiet?
It's definitely, it's an interesting reaction because it's like everybody is stoked, like genuinely it's been like 3 phases of reaction. It's very much a Diz Twitter situation because everybody on the LA side is like, we knew it.
Right.
And they're just like stoked that like there's like the people that are stoked that they got it right.
2009. 19. Ah.
Okay. So there's those people, right, that are like,
Yeah.
I knew I was right. Like there it is.
Right.
But like everybody is stoked that they're doing Bloody Mary, or not Bloody Mary, Jesus. They're doing the Universal Monsters again, right? Because for LA especially, anytime Universal Monsters happens, it's usually the best thing. Usually.
Right.
So they're stoked that it's going to be a good maze. Like you can tell a lot of love goes into the maze. Brad. Then you have the group from Orlando that knew LA was getting it, so they wanted it.
Yeah.
And now that Orlando is getting it too, they're stoked. Everybody gets it. Hooray, hooray.
Right.
And then there is the group, and it's a small group, but there is a group that is like Universal Monsters again. It's kind of like it feels sort of on the brink of the year that Walking Dead was every scare zone in Orlando.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. If anybody feels that way, they can go lick it, because that is 100% not it.
It's not to that point yet, but do you remember that year?
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember when Walking Dead was houses, scare zones, everything. Like, that's the only thing they lived off of.
Right. So you remember how it felt that like Walking Dead was every year or everywhere.
Right.
So or even like a better example for the LA audience would be like Saw.
Okay.
Like they bring Saw back every time there's a Saw movie, like it's almost a guarantee.
Right.
And it's different in the sense of like Insidious, where it feels like Insidious every year the cast was growing, but Insidious also knew when to take like a couple years off, and then come back.
Right.
And this is speaking mainly to LA, but I'll be curious, man, because this has been 4 or 5 years in a row now that we're getting a Universal Monster representation. And Murdy said that they are. This is like the first year where like Orlando is chapter 1 and LA is chapter 2.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that's what I was waiting to tell you. Is he said, I'm like quoting, like not exactly, but he said the two of them have to be strong enough to exist separately. But if you were if you walk through both of them, your experience will be kind of like loosely connected. And if you were going to connect them, it would be Orlando chapter 1, LA chapter 2.
Where's Singapore? No, that's actually kind of amazing. What a takeaway, because we live in a world where we can watch these videos on YouTube now. Like, yes, I would love to actually do the twofer.
Yeah.
And it's all possible, but what a different takeaway. Now, I want to kind of go backwards real quick when you brought up The Walking Dead. Here's my difference about like this kind of living. It's one house. It's not the entire event. When Walking Dead took over, it might as well been called Universal Studios Florida presents The Walking Dead's Halloween Horror Nights. Like that's what the whole title should have been.
Yeah.
At least with this, it's just a faction. And if you don't like it, there are 9 other houses, 5 scare zones, a show, and some fucking treats you can eat. Like
100%, man.
The like to just bit about one house, that's ridiculous, especially when those characters are owned and operated by that company. And the fact that they're like, oh, we're not getting actual movies that exist. We're living our own movie through this IP. It would be like if like they own Michael Myers at the moment, and if they were like, okay, well, let's give them Halloween, the revenge of Donald Pleasance. Like,
well, bro, I've always had a soft spot for HHN Orlando because of its characters. Like, it keeps coming up this weekend about like the core character, like Jack, and all the icons were brought up.
Right.
We had Higby Horror earlier today. Their characters were brought up. And so the Universal monsters come up now. And it is, man. Like, that is the Mickey Mouse of Universal. Dracula is the Mickey Mouse. So to do a maze based on him, you're like killing two birds with one stone, because you're appealing to the HHN and you're appealing to the Universal Monsters purist.
Yes, 100%. And like, it's almost coming because it is the horror division of that company. That's like saying, oh, let's not make a tribute store that's E.T., Jaws, and Back to the Future. Like, those are all in the same realm of this one company. Of course, they're going to do something with them. Now, there was a bit of other Universal Monster news that was dropped, and this was actually dropped on Friday the 13th of last week, that in Orlando, the Universal Monsters Cafe was no longer open, shutting down, rebranding. It's gone. So,
do you know what my first thought was?
It better be nice.
My first thought was, because I know you guys are doing the 3 house tour.
Yes.
And my wife and I are doing the 6 house tour of Behind the Screams.
Yeah.
My thought was, where are they going to feed us?
Immediate. Oh, you're going to eat at Minions Cafe. You're going to eat at Illumination Restaurante. I mean, it is ridiculous how many kid-themed things we're getting. And let me tell you, when I saw that Minions was actually up in the air of being the thing there, I don't need the entire front part to just be Minions. Like, we have other
things
happening.
Hey,
we have other things.
I got news for you, pal.
Yeah, don't you tell me.
Welcome to fucking California. Welcome. Hey, bro.
Broski.
Hey, bro. Welcome to Universal Hollywood, bro. You know, I like the T2 ride. I like the T2 show. It's really fun. Live action and 3D technology. Oh, too bad, man, because this Gru movie is making mega money.
Billions.
Yeah. Welcome to the struggle.
It's the worst.
Welcome to the resistance, pal.
So they announced it, and what's kind of weird for me, the back of my mind goes, it's going to be at Epic Universe. Like, it's just them moving. Filet mignon!
Perfect.
Filet mignon! That's a shirt. But like, I feel like Universal Monsters Cafe could end up at Epic Universe. And if that's the case, fantastic. Great. I don't care. Actually, to be honest, I don't care that they closed it down. I get it. They always remodel. They don't keep, the only thing staying there is E.T., and it's because Steven Spielberg ain't giving it up. He's going to keep it there as long as possible. But my problem with the fucking news is that it was on Friday the 13th. They wanted to announce this little tidbit for a company that is devoted to their horror fans. You thought Friday the 13th was the day to announce this?
It's funny that you say that, because I was more pissed off about the announcement. Like, the Friday the 13th part didn't hit me harder, like as hard as it probably should have, because I was honestly like, I got a week to get this fucking show in order.
Right. You had no time to process. Jimmy will be
It
in his
wasn't-
bed 2 weeks from now, just randomly crying about Universal Monsters.
Yeah, it wasn't even until the fact that like 2 days after that I was like, damn, they dropped that on Friday the 13th. This guy Jay here, move it to City Walk. I mean, you're not wrong, man.
You're not wrong. They have space and places are closing up. Like they're like, oh shit, this place is closing. Make an escape room.
Did you guys ever eat there at the actual place?
Oh baby, I ate there. That was like one of my first places I needed to go to when I went the very first time, and that's where we went for the scare actor dining.
Oh yeah, okay. So
And let me tell you, what atmosphere am I going to sit in with scare actor dining? Now I'm scared there is no scare actor dining unless the only thing I can think of is that cafe, what is it?
La Bamba.
Cafe
Yeah.
La Bamba? Like when we went to HHN Light and
Yeah.
they had that haunted like bar you can go in. That's the only thing I can think of is that what they can do with it.
that was the exact same thing that I was thinking. Yep. Which I think
Two great minds.
I think that if I was gonna like guess anything, I
Mhm.
would say that the tour lunch thing. Now we're gonna get vouchers for Today Cafe, and the like you just said, the scare actor dining. If it does come back,
Mhm.
COVID wise, it should come back.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing everything else.
Yeah. So let's just pretend that it does come back for a minute.
Okay.
Cafe La Bamba would be like the dope like solution to that.
For sure.
But I could totally see them using just again cafe. It's not going to be the Minions thing.
So, yeah, it's like the Frankenstein minion walking around that one purple motherfucker also.
Aside from them, like, which would be cool, but I don't see him doing it, would be to like use like sound stage space somewhere and
Mhm.
like do it backstage, which
Right.
I don't want to say that they would never do that, but I there's been like nothing, I've heard nothing to suggest that they would do that.
Yeah.
Like Cafe La Bamba would be like the only space that they really then have to like do an overlay.
Yeah, and it was a perfect overlay the year we went to it. It looked nice, and I'm with you. I can't think of another like area because here's the thing: it has to be themed. It has to be themed because, like, I don't want to sit and be like, "Oh man, I don't know if I want to get a picture with Frankenstein next to Al Roker." Like that to me doesn't sound appealing. Appealing is putting me in a dark room, getting me atmosphere ready for the event I'm about to embark on.
100%.
And if it's somewhere crappy, whatever. I mean, we could all just set up at Chevy's little Alcatraz bar. I'm okay with that. Give me a walking shark, just like feeding me drinks. I'm into that.
Compression tunnel walking through the shark's mouth.
Is this where I get my shot? So yeah, last little bit that I had for HHN talk, my feel, and if you have anything, please bring to the table. My other co-host did not. But is it weird? To me, it is. Is it weird the fact of like I'll go to HalloweenHorrorNights.com. I'll press on Orlando and it sends me back to the Universal Studios site. Like, why aren't we getting an HHN website?
Because I think they're getting ready to launch it. I think they're getting ready to like. I think whatever the next announcement, and I don't know if the Pumpkin Lord, like, just going off of the speculation, because I know how much you love speculate.
Oh, I love the speculation.
But let's pretend that like the Pumpkin Lord, or the Wicked Grove 2 house is happening, right?
Okay.
There's been no mention of like HHN Icon coming back, aside from maybe the Usher.
Mhm.
Like James is super quiet. Um, like by now having known him for like 6 years, by now he's like starting to fuck with people.
Mhm.
He's not really fucking with people right now, which
Right.
makes me think he's probably working for the mouse.
Okay.
Um, and so, which m- doesn't necessarily mean they could like throw a curveball halfway through the summer and Jack is around, but he's usually posted more about HHN if he's gonna be like the
A part of it, a front runner.
right, right. And so if Wicked Growth happens, number two, and now the heavy circulation after that first announcement, if it's really pointing to one of three things, it's pointing to Usher, maybe,
Mhm.
uh, the Pumpkin Lord, which is kind of weird. It's almost like Bone if he actually got like a full focus year.
Right.
And then the third option is we go back to the ways of like 28 and 29, where there is no real icon per se. It's more of just kind of like
A
a
theme.
time period slash theme. Yeah.
Right.
And this one, I don't even know what you would call this one if this speculation is real.
Well,
Modern.
that's I don't think we do get. I honestly think HHN this year is HHN. I think I
Yeah.
mean so much so look, I don't the fact that the goddamn slogan's the same slogan from last year,
Yeah.
that's why I brought up this like why does it keep kicking me back to the original website? Why it just kind of comes off of to me like maybe we don't have the budget we once did. Maybe we can. If they give us a Wicked Growth 2, and this is my feeling, if they give me a Wicked Growth 2, it's because we have budgetary reasons. I have never seen them just go back to back years giving us sequel houses when people been clamoring for sequel houses. I remember when I was like, Slaughter Cinema, this house is amazing. Give me Slaughter Cinema 2 next year. And people were like, I think we're getting a Slaughter Cinema. Guess what? We didn't get. We did get that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's what like just the quick turnaround of people. Yeah, I get it. Lil Boo was cute and it's fucking cool. Cool. I love that you love your pumpkin. Who gives a shit? I feel like just because you like one thing doesn't mean Universal's going to look at that and say, we're bringing it back, baby, immediately.
100%. I mean, right here, man. He's saying every year doesn't need an icon. We don't need an icon every year.
Nope.
It's been done. The Stranger Things years were non-icon years. Remember that.
Yep,
So
they
maybe
were 80s themed.
maybe there's a property that stands out above everything else, but there's not necessarily an icon that is the central figure through all of it. Last year, it was more of a, there wasn't technically an icon of last year as much as it was just the icon
Jack.
had their maze, and
Right.
Jack was, he was
Walking about.
walking around, and they had the first two guys besides James to really be a focal point. Jack, that was kind of big news within the HHN community, that this was really the first year that besides James that other people were the in-person, like mess with you in person Jack. But the fact that we have had so many different kind of mazes have success and there wasn't an icon tying them together, I think is a bigger deal.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when we use icons, that's when it is bigger for the diehards of the HHN life, where you do break that out on 25s and 30s and 35s. Look how, and I don't think it's rightfully so, but look how like we went from 25 with Jack and then 26 was Chance. And a lot of people throw like a little shade at that year. You know what I mean? And then when I think HHN itself should be the thing that we're going to. Yes, Stranger Things and Ghostbusters and stuff like that gave us that 80s feel, that nostalgia feel, because that's what we were clamoring on. But I do like the idea of just being able to go to the event and it is what it is. Do I think they needed a better slogan just to get through the year? Absolutely. And maybe we'll get more slogans out of it. But I'm going for HHN. I'm not going for the idea that it's a themed property. Do you think Netflix is still around? Do you think we're getting either Fear Street or Stranger Things?
I don't know, man. Like,
and is that why Stranger Things wasn't the first announcement?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it is all up in the air right now.
Yeah. It's weird because I don't know if you follow along to this, but Stranger Things has changed their release date stuff for the new season.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from being the first 5, then the final 4 to now like the first 7 and then the final 2. It kind of makes me wonder if that has a play to do with we want to make a house. This is the first time that I felt like it could be in rush gear for them to also include, oh, we want to push this property as much as possible, and this is the only way we can do it.
Yeah, I think that we have a opportunity to see exactly what they are doing. I have a small technical issue I need to solve, so I'm bringing in someone, Zach, that actually worked for HHN for a couple of years. Our co-moderator Jay is going to step in. I will be right.
Oh, hello, Jay.
How are you? I've been the one shouting out some stuff here.
Yeah. Well, you're the defender of my honor. If I was to say one thing, you're my power and glory from Karate Kid 2.
Oh.
But what are your thoughts on this at the moment, with the first announcement being a homegrown IP announcement and not an out of company announcement?
With the very limited backstage. So real quick, my background. So the first year I was there was 2008 for Bloody Mary. That's why she'll always have a soft spot for me. I still have my crew shirts. Come on.
Awesome.
That was my first year working HHN, and then I worked the second year for Usher for the first year of Rip from the Silver Screen. I still have those shirts.
Wow, that's my first year. So
yeah,
I appreciate you.
You know what? If I still have 2 of those shirts, I will save you a work shirt.
Screen, I will make sure.
No, buy it. You are family. I will make sure that it gets to you. I will talk to Jimmy. Let me look through my stores.
Yeah. I'm not going to get my heart way too pumped up.
I'm going to look and see if I have 2. But yeah. So with my limited, I worked for HHN for all of UO. I worked pyrotechnics and special effects.
Oh wow!
That was my job. Mostly a lot of the fireworks shows you saw, summer and New Year's, that kind of stuff. Macy's Day parades, that's that kind of stuff. So I wasn't in on any of the conversations, but I knew everybody who was building the houses. And I knew how early they start building the houses, and I knew when the first tours come and everything like that for employees. Right. So with these announcements as far as a homegrown, I think part of it is correct what you said. With the pandemic, they probably had to slash some budgets here and there, and that's going to be one of the places hit. With the Stranger Things thing that you stated about the moving, I don't know quite if that's exactly why they did the shift as far as doing a house. I still think they're going to rush a house. I think it will be smarter for Netflix to do a Fear Street than it would be to do a Stranger Things and save Stranger Things for next year.
100%.
Yeah, it may be a day late and $1 short by next year, but it'll be a much better house. And you
I I don't think a day late, dollar short. Like, I like the fact of getting a season 4 house before season 5 comes out. It's almost like, ooh, I'm going to walk through basically a recap, and then I can go watch the new thing.
I agree with you. That would be a brilliant move on theirs. I'm afraid that they're going to rush a season 4 house this year.
Is that more of a Netflix jump? Is that Netflix being like, oh here's money?
100%. I think as far as a creative team that I have met and that I have talked to, they are all about the product. They are all about making the best house that they can, right? From the design process all through the build, and so they don't ever want to rush anything. I've seen them throw out full notebooks where they're like, no, we don't have the time or budget to do this. Right. So this isn't happening. And they toss it out like a week before build's supposed to start.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, because they want to make sure. I'm trying to think of the house specifically that I want to do. You guys remember it better because I was on a different line. Mm-hmm. But so the Bloody Mary year, the Bloody Mary year also had a house about a small town cannibal, or was that the rip from Silver Screen?
Cannibal.
Something Meats year.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know Meats. Yes, I know. With the like Cleaver face.
Cleaver,
yeah.
Leave
it to Cleaver. Yeah, leave it to Cleaver.
Leave it to Cleaver. So that was ripped from the Silver Screen year? Or was
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, okay. It's Bloody Mary. Or not Bloody Mary. Ripped.
That house they were working on 2 years prior. That they wanted to do that story. But when they got to the design process, and this was something that they told me when I started, they're like, no, if you're going to be on a build team, just know you might be building something completely different than you thought.
Right.
Because that was the example of it, that the Leave It to Cleaver house, they wanted to do it earlier. They got to a week before build, and they looked at the whole notebook, and they were like, we can't pull it off with what we want to do. So we'll save it. And they just threw it in a lockbox and waited.
You know what? It's funny that you say that because I don't remember where I heard this, but I want to say Patrick Braylard's Tooth Fairy was the Tooth Fairy's Revenge was a house he wanted to do for a while, and then it finally got done.
Yeah.
And I think that's the process. I think that for the originals, definitely, where it's like you got to write in a complete kind of script of an idea for this thing, and it's not going to get rushed up. Like December is not going to come out and they're going to be like, all right, guys, give me your next idea.
Mm-hmm. No, they're coming up with ideas all throughout. There are people that are designers that are wandering through HHN while the fans are there.
Yep.
And taking notes going, okay, so if we take this idea that everybody loves within this house, but maybe they didn't care for the whole house, how do we take this idea and expand it into its own house?
Right.
And I think that's because of, and I will always applaud HHN, not just because I was lucky enough to work there, but I will always applaud them at that effort of wanting to the finite details. And it's sad whenever I do hear, I watch all the videos and everything of people, how you said they were ragging on the year with Lucky.
Right.
For me, I'm going, look, they tried something. It didn't stick with you. I don't know if that definitely means that they failed at something, because who knows? Jack could have been a failure his first year, but instead hit hard.
Right.
So the Usher was a risk. I would rather see them invent brand new icons when they decide to have icons, and again, not have to have it every year.
100%. I feel like if we get new icons, especially in this day and age where we've been going back so much, I know Chance was a new addition to Jack, which was a fun add on to that. But like, I do feel if someone says, oh, this was a failure, you're fucking wrong, because guess what? They made tons of money.
Yeah.
Like for anybody to sit here and just be like, oh, this year was sucking. No, to you, your opinion, you can have one. But to see what the dollar signs did is a completely different aspect of things.
I will also say though that I think every year does, if it can fit theming, like for the years like the 80s, the Stranger Things 80s, I know it wouldn't fit so well. But Universal Monster is such a thing on its own, and it has so many different monsters and stories to tell. I wouldn't mind if every year has some section that is a Universal Monster, whether it be a scare zone, whether it be a show, whether it be a cafe resurgence for every Halloween, or whether it be a full house. But I think there needs to be one thing that it is their Mickey, it is their thing. Show it to us.
And honestly, I felt like there was a time where they did kind of stray away from it, even though when you do look at like the beginning stages and then a little brief period, like they always have had Universal Monsters a part of this damn thing.
In merch or something, yes.
And something. And like you just said, there's so many characters. It'd be different if it was like, oh, I'm getting another Bride house. Yeah. Oh, look, Bride's coming back again. Oh, can't believe we're getting Bride. Like if we're sitting there, yeah, because that's why Walking Dead was hard. It was zombies going after humans. Nothing changed. But we're getting a triple threat match this year. Next year, we're going to get a Hell in a Cell with Wolfman and the Creature. And they're like, it's like we can change the game each year, giving our own property. I love it.
It would challenge the designers too, if every year they get to push themselves on, all right, so we were handed Wolfman. We did Wolfman 3 years ago. What do?
Right.
Different. How do we push it? How do we change
it? The push, and this is my takeaway, the push is what you did with Bride, where it's like, oh, we're going to add vampire blood to Frankenstein's monster. Let's fast forward 3 years from now when Frankenstein's monster's morphing into a vampire as well.
There.
See? Let's get serious!
Perfect.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, we're kind of wrapping up things. I'd like to give a plug real quick. Frightmare in Virginia. If you're here in Chesapeake, Hampton Roads area, Frightmare is amazing. I did a wrestling match, a cinematic wrestling match with them. So you can check that out on Thrill Me Podcast Network.
It's a great video, dog.
Oh, thank you so much. Also, Red Vein Haunt. I think Red Vein Haunt in Virginia is the closest thing that you will get to an HHN-like experience, because it's not just going through a haunt. There's an encompassing atmosphere and stuff. That's the hardest thing about haunts in my eyes. Like when you go to a separate event, I love the party atmosphere HHN pulls off, and I wish more haunts could do it.
For sure.
So that's is that my time? Am I getting a hook? Thank you, Jimmy and the Horrific Network. I love that you came on. I'm going to be looking for that shirt. So keep me up.
As soon as we go off, I'm going to go check my storage box.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Also, make sure you give some Hunters Against Hate some love, people, because this is why we're doing this, for a good cause.
100%.
Oh yeah. Chef's kiss. Wonderful. We miss you, Brooke. Obviously, we miss you. So you'll see them tomorrow, though. They'll be on the Thrill Me Podcast Network section of the show.
Dope. Awesome.
Yeah.
We thank you, man, Haunters Podcast, for being guests on the whole thing. Make sure you follow them, Haunters Podcast, on however you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And stay tuned. We have Joe Castro coming up next on the live stream. So stay tuned for that panel, and stay tuned. Thrill Me Podcast Network will be back tomorrow. So right on, man.
And I'm just going to talk about how much I love Twitter. That's the entire hour.
Wonderful.